Why are people so weird about like giving Trump credit, even if you're being apprehensive with the credit that you're giving? Like, even if you understand that things may fall apart down the line, people get very weird about that. Like, you don't have to deny reality. You know what I mean? It's not a partisan situation at all sometimes. Because he banned it? No, he didn't. He wanted to ban it, okay, by executive order initially. And you know who actually did ban it? The Democrats did. Under Democratic leadership, under a Democratic president, the Democratic president signed it into law. They found the bipartisan support to actually get it banned. A major thing that actually pushed it over the finish line, helped the TikTok ban cross over the finish line. And the legislative side of things was specifically the influence of the pro-Israeli lobby and their efforts, because they hated that there was too many people talking about Palestine on there, okay, ironically enough. And the Democratic Party was like, no, we have arrested 3,500 students so far, and we also will take away your treats in this really silly way, even though, lo and behold, as I correctly and consistently have said, Americans have nothing. The only thing they have is treats. If you take their treats away, they will lose their minds. So guess what? You know who took it back? You know who was at least given it a stay on the execution? Donald Trump. That's just the reality. It's so strange that people just like are refusing this, refusing to recognize the honest reality here. It's so strange to me that people would just like actively deny reality in the interest of some like weird partisan thing, in the interest of like maintaining some kind of like partisan perspective at a time when like the Democratic Party has like abandoned you. The Democratic Party has abandoned all of us, and they seemingly will never learn from their lessons. It's not a team sport at all to me, okay? I'm calling balls and I'm calling strikes. Trump is great at creating a mess and getting credit for cleaning it up, but yeah, this was an easy layup from Dems, just like Gaza and immigration. No, I think that in terms of who is most responsible for TikTok getting banned, it's not Trump. Trump was nowhere near power when TikTok got banned through Congress. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah, he initially wanted to ban it via executive order many years ago when he was president. He couldn't do it. And guess what? The Democrats were like, no, it's fine. We'll do it. He started the conversation. That's cope. You guys are coping. Trump started a million different conversations when he was in office. What are we talking about? Trump's SCOTUS upheld the ban. Double cope, triple cope. It was a 9-0 unanimous decision. It was a Democratic Party legislative agenda item. It was deeply unpopular, and for some weird reason, I could see how unpopular it was when it was happening, and yet they couldn't until the very last second when people went, oh, no, I didn't realize this was going to be bad. Oh, my God. So it was bipartisan. This is idiotic. You are playing an idiotic game. You are playing an idiotic game here. It is, of course, it is bipartisan. Republicans are always going to push for awful regardless. It is up to the Democrats, who are in charge at that point, to not push this silly, stupid legislative item. You are being ridiculous. What is this weird attitude that people have where they just like constantly are just like, well, the Democrats are powerless, they're babies, they're stupid, they don't know what's happening. It's like, no, they made an incredibly stupid, incredibly unpopular decision. I'm beginning to feel like a lot of the reasons why the Democrats get away with this is because of the mentality that is baked into our minds. Is the reason you have more smoke against Dems than Republicans because they're the opposition party? The reason why I have more smoke for the Democrats against the Republicans is because, first of all, that's not true. I have more smoke for Republicans than Democrats always. But the reason why I'm yelling at my chat right now is because they refuse to recognize reality. And there is nothing that is more annoying to me than a group of people who routinely undermine the reality that is in front of everyone's eyes, where they just like look for an alternative way to message around it, where they're like, no, you don't understand. It was actually Trump that wanted to do it. Okay, so we should just kept the ban in place. Why didn't he keep the ban in place? Why is he saying he wants to give it a stay of execution? Why did he successfully give it a stay of execution as the incoming president? Please stop. This is not a politically sound way to operate, but more importantly than that, more importantly than politics, you're basically training yourself to deny reality at the behest of a party that has abandoned you, instead of trying to get your party, if you are a Democrat, to wake the f up. Okay? It's truly ridiculous. So what is your point though? People are trying to rationalize all this. What do you recommend us to do? I recommend you to all open your eyes and don't lean into false narratives because you feel as though it is more beneficial for the Democratic Party. in an effort to defend the Democratic Party and their incompetence. It's so silly. It's so stupid. It is proof that TikTok broke brains. Even if you're on TikTok's side, you have to understand the way people are acting about this is childish and low-key insane. No, it's not. I think you're being childish and insane if you don't recognize that an application that 170 million people were using to communicate with one another, more importantly than that, 7 million small businesses had started on, 7 million people were relying on TikTok for, you know, income. And it's not just like dance people, okay? It's not just like people doing dances and making money off of doing advertising. Even then, that's just like one of the only viable economies remaining in this country. So what the are you supposed to do? But outside of that, there's people that are making, you know, belt buckles. There's people that are making bags. There are people that are making things and selling it on the TikTok shop. And you're just gonna rip that away for what reason? For no reason whatsoever? Ridiculous. It's completely out of control. The people that think like, no, it's actually totally understandable. We should entertain stuff like this. We should entertain ridiculous things that the Democratic Party does like this. Why? Because I don't like it personally. Come on now. Giving Trump praise is exactly what he wants, saying Trump saved TikTok when he still agrees with the bill passed. No, he doesn't. Because if he agreed with the bill that passed, he wouldn't have passed the bill. I mean, he wouldn't have stopped the stay of execution. It's so stupid. They don't sell him or his CEO friends 50%, then TikTok will be banned once again. Don't fall for this propaganda. Like, guys, hello? What are you saying? If he agreed with the ban, he would have banned it. If he agreed with the ban, he would have banned it. What propaganda are we talking about? He would have just let it happen. Like, there's nothing in this for him to defend TikTok's honor or whatever. I don't think you guys understand how comprehensive of a bill this was. Like, I don't think you understand. The way that the Democrats wrote this bill was so that it was a definite ban, where they were like, you either divest from this company that is very profitable, or you're done. And not only, like, they wouldn't even punish TikTok directly, they would punish every other American corporation for having its hands on TikTok. Servers that run TikTok servers would get punished. Apple would get punished for having it on the App Store. Google would get punished for having it on the Android Store. This is a very comprehensive piece of legislation that extends beyond the next 4 years. It was a 5-year piece of legislation as well. ISPs would get punished. $5,000 per person that is actively using TikTok. With 170 million people, that is like $800 billion in damages. Like, this is an incredibly dangerous precedent. I talked about this quite a bit. Yesterday, for the past couple of months, as a matter of fact. This is not just about like, oh, I like TikTok, I enjoy using it, and you're taking away my treat. This is not that at all. This is a far greater issue than simply the government taking away your treat. The fact that treats are the only thing that motivate the broader American public, and treats are the only thing that hold this entire social fabric together, because without treats, you have literally nothing. Then you recognize that you don't have healthcare, the roads are and you'll never be able to retire, and life is utterly dog, right? And your rent is too much and you can't afford nice things. All of a sudden, when you take that last treat away, people are going to go, what the hell is this about then? And that's precisely what happened during COVID as well. And there was a good reason to deny some treats during COVID. There's no good reason to deny this treat, okay? It's so shocking to me personally that liberals have this tendency to look at something when any politician actually responds to public pressure in a positive way, okay? They go, that's bad. That's automatically bad. I'm going to yell about that. I'm going to be against it. Inherently, I'm anti that because a bad guy did it. Trump is still a very bad guy. He is not a good guy at all. He's a horrible guy. Starting Tuesday, ICE raids are going to start in Chicago. You'll see how bad of a guy he is then. Trust me, okay? But there is no reason to look at the situation and deny reality. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense whatsoever to look at the situation and not recognize who the real perpetrators are and how they, in the most incompetent ways possible, gave Donald Trump a massive opportunity to present himself as this savior of this incredibly popular app against the incredibly unpopular thing that Congress had done in a bipartisan manner. That was still, at the end of the day, signed into law by the Democratic administration. This is in the hands of the Democratic Party. So looking at a person, looking at any politician that responds to public pressure in a positive way and immediately going, no, I'm against it because the other team did this, is stupid. It's incredibly stupid. It's incredibly dumb. And I need you to understand that. And I need you to never do this. Please don't do this. Being a partisan in this regard is so silly because you're denying abject reality that is in front of you. It's the same as like thinking, no, Trump's influence played no role in pressuring Israel. Trump's influence played no role in pressuring Israel whatsoever to actually come to terms with the ceasefire agreement. Like, it's ridiculous. So what happened for the past 15 months? Biden couldn't exert his influence, but then all of a sudden at the last second he was able to? No, of course not. That's precisely the reason why everyone is saying, no, this was Trump. Trump played a big role in this. Having said that, of course, the grift to the right begins. Yes, dude, I'm grifting to the right. Yeah, I'm grifting to the right. You will never find me grifting to the right. The people that grift to the right are the Democratic Party all the time, okay? I'm grifting to reality. You see Hutch trying to talk again? No. Let's try to defend the scraps of the Democratic Party. The bill was introduced by Republicans and it passed on a bipartisan basis with a veto-proof majority. Obviously, that won't stop the relentless Dems back chorus from the left flank. We're going to see again and again in the second Trump era, every time he pulls a stunt like this. Wow, the bill was introduced by Republicans and it passed on a bipartisan basis with a veto-proof majority. Wait, how did it get a veto-proof majority then? Oh my God. I had no idea that the Republicans actually had a veto-proof majority in Congress and were able to get this legislative item passed on their own. Oh, never mind. It's because I'm not an absolute moron who's wrong all the time about politics that I recognize that this is still in the hands of the Democrats under a Democratic leadership with Democrats that actually signed on for it. That's what a bipartisan bill is, okay? It just doesn't make sense. Ratio his ass like you did with Tommy. I wasn't even trying to ratio Tommy Vitor, by the way. That wasn't my intention at all when I responded to him. He said Chinese Communist Party running ads for Trump on TikTok. It's true. TikTok is running not just an ad, not just any ad, the largest, most consequential ad of all time. They're doing that. And the way that they are able to do this and the reasons for why they're doing that is because Trump said, we're not banning TikTok, at least for now. One must look at who's responsible for giving this massive W to Donald Trump. The Democrats handed him the easiest W of all time if he's smart enough to seize it, is what I said. I didn't intend to actually dunk on Tommy Vitor or anything like that. This wasn't intentional at all. No other will ever care that Trump got paid to flip-flop on it because Congress didn't really explain why it felt necessary to do so. I didn't even see his response, but this response I don't agree with entirely either. But because I think Trump is not doing this because he got paid for it or whatever. Trump is doing this because he understands that TikTok is popular. That's it. And it's an easy W for him. He personally thinks TikTok played a role in him winning this election, in him basically getting 34% of the youth vote, as opposed to in prior elections, never reaching that percentage at all. Okay. He thinks TikTok played a big role in him getting that. And I think the TikTok CEO and TikTok did a pretty smart move where they literally were like, oh no, we love the Republican Party. Look at Charlie Kirk. He's so popping on TikTok. They literally juiced up one guy from the Trump orbit. And immediately they were like, actually, TikTok is great for us in order to have a stay of execution. Do you think that it would get to that point? Do you think that this would have had to have happened if the Democrats were like, of course we're not banning TikTok. What are we, stupid? If they had said, no, we're not doing that. And instead, we're actually smart, just like Trump is in this regard, and said, no, we're not banning that. Republicans want to do censorship. Republicans want to take away your First Amendment rights. Republicans want to take away your treats. Republicans want to ban a platform that has 7 million small businesses. Who love small businesses? If they had done a massive propaganda campaign like that, I'm certain that one, this ban wouldn't have even been a conversation. It wouldn't even been a point of contention. And if it was ever a point of contention, it would be one that would benefit the Democrats because they could actively bully the Republicans for being annoying losers who are censorious. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that because they were scared. They were scared because the ADL looked at TikTok and said, everyone is doing Hamas propaganda on there. Get to work right now. Okay. They tagged it along with I believe it was a spending bill. It was a must-pass bill that they added this over to. It passed with bipartisan support. Democrats signed off on it. Some Democrats didn't, right? But enough of them signed off for it for a veto-proof majority. Joe Biden voted for it as well and pushed for it. He signed it into law. And here we are. And because it became increasingly the reality that it was going to get banned, and people were like, what are you doing? This is our livelihoods. All of a sudden, in the last second, they were like, just kidding. We actually don't want it banned. Can you imagine a world where you push for something Okay, you push for a piece of legislation. That legislation passes. Your president votes on that legislation. Then it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. You don't have a Supreme Court in that situation, right? The Supreme Court is not even on your side. And yet that conservative Supreme Court unanimously votes to enact the legislation that you pushed. And literally a day after that, right as you are on the way out of your administration, on the last day of your administration, you go, we were just kidding. We were just kidding. We were kidding 36 hours. Let's just leave this to Trump. He can deal with it. I cannot imagine a worse way to legislate. I can't imagine a stupider thing that a party could do. And this isn't like, Hasan, you're a dreamer. You're just dreaming big. You want pie in the sky ideals. Like, you are just ideologically minded on this issue. Like, no, it's just bad politics, man. I'm looking at exactly what the Democrats are doing and telling you that they're doing bad politics. They are playing like they want to lose. It's terrible politics. If anyone else in any other job had this level of performance, this much of a glaringly obvious fuck up, they would be fired. They should be fired. It is crazy. And when the Democrats fuck up, we suffer, okay? Because when they mess up, when they suck, when they're bad at their jobs, then Republicans win, okay? They might not care about that, because they're politicians. And as long as they can keep getting their donations, as long as they can keep farming donos off of all of the awful cruelty that the Republican agenda represents, they're fine. As long as they can keep sending their children to the best schools and make them work at these same mega corporations that they end up getting money from to deregulate those specific sectors, they're fine. You are not fine. When Republicans control the government and do awful you're not fine. You suffer. It's ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, dude. It's mind-boggling, okay? And I don't understand. I don't understand how people can't see the glaringly obvious reality here. I don't get it. Just 33% of all Americans express a favorable view of the Democratic Party, an all-time low in CNN's polling dating back to 1992. 4 years ago, in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, attack on the Capitol, the Democrats' rating stood at 49% and the Republicans at 32%. The party is dead. The party is so bad. They're such an overt failure. Anyone that defends this kind of ineptitude is ridiculous. You're just defending losers. Like, you're defending losers for losing. You're deluding yourself. It's so bad that it's like understandable if you think that this is a controlled opposition party where they're like deliberately losing. Anyway, here. As I said, there was my I told you so video.
Told you. I told you. TikTok has 170 million Americans. It's infinitely more popular than Congress. It's more popular than most things in this country. It's more popular than voting. It would be far too difficult for our incompetent Congress to fully successfully ban this application with 7 million small businesses on it. So here we are. The Democratic Party's incompetence once again in full display, giving Donald Trump, the man who wanted to initially ban TikTok, the full credit on a massive billboard with 170 million people, giving him the credit that he is actually now saving TikTok. Coming right on the heels of a ceasefire in Gaza as well that for 15 months Joe Biden simply could not accomplish. This be a warning though. As America's power diminishes on the global stage, they are going to become more censorious. Free speech never really truly existed. Obviously, look at the Red Scare. Look at what they did to black activists. Look at what they did to, BDS. But now it's going to get worse.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great take as well. Yeah. You Dem loyalists were wrong about the significance of Gaza to Americans, wrong about the political relevance of the TikTok ban, wrong about the validity and intensity of popular hatred of corporations. You don't know anything when it counts. Please exit all civic life forever. It's true. I'm already seeing thank you Trump posts from my apolitical friends. I want to die in a video game. If you're angry at that, understand who's responsible for it. Because who gave Trump this opportunity? Who gave Trump this opportunity? The Democrats did. I want a competent, actually anti-fascist Democratic Party. I want a real counterbalance to growing fascism in this country. The Democrats are refusing to do that, okay? They're refusing to do that. And I keep screaming and I keep kicking and I keep demanding that the Democrats actually do that so that we don't have a ridiculous Republican administration. It's ironic that people will try and claim that I'm an accelerationist, that I want Trump to win or some dumb shit, when it's exactly the opposite. If the Democratic Party listened to any number of different things that I was complaining about. We could have had a much different outcome here in this election cycle. But no, I don't expect them to. I'm just saying that, like, it is completely ridiculous that these guys don't want to learn from their defeats at all. You actually don't believe Trump initiated this? What are you talking about? I 100% believe Trump initiated this. What do you mean? Look, here's what I think. Okay, here's what I think. AIPAC gave the final push to get this across the finish line. It was tied to a must-pass bill. It got passed. Joe Biden signed it, celebrated it, thought this was a major W. And then the Supreme Court took it on and gave a unanimous decision to finalize this ban. In that process, there was an election cycle, however. In that election cycle, Donald Trump actually started posting on TikTok. So did the Democrats, as a matter of fact. Weirdly enough, even though it's a major national security problem, it seems like neither party actually had an issue posting on the platform while they were actively trying to ban it, right? The difference is between the two parties, one party was being hypocritical by posting on TikTok, while the other party, on the other hand, was posting on TikTok and getting glazed, okay? Donald Trump, in that process, realized that TikTok might not be so bad. In his mind, he thought, because Charlie Kirk was, seeing a tremendous amount of success on the platform, and Charlie Kirk directly has access to Donald Trump, and many other right-wing content creators were telling him, TikTok is good, TikTok is good. He decided this was actually beneficial for him because he reads the room. That's it. It's not a superpower. It's literally not a superpower. But for some reason, if you are in DC for a long enough time, just trying to understand what like the overwhelming majority of people enjoy or like becomes this impossible endeavor. It might as well be a superpower to be able to read the room actively. He recognized that people liked him on there. He thought that it played a role in him winning over the youth vote. Okay? He got great margins in the youth vote in comparison to past performance. He said it openly. He said, TikTok played a big role in me winning. The youth love TikTok. They love Trump. I'm going to save it. I'm going to defend it.
You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok had something to do with that. Now, Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you got to be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute, if you want to know the truth. But we did them, and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it. But we won youth. Republicans are always 30 points down in youth. I don't know why, but we ended up finishing. There was one poll that showed us down about 30. We were 35 or 36 points up with young people. So I have a little bit of a warm spot in my heart, I'll be honest.
And that's all it takes. TikTok glazed the Republicans, reposted Charlie Kirk memes. Show is still, the CEO is still reposting Charlie Kirk at Greenland or whatever, okay? And they're doing that because they don't want the application to be banned. The difference is Mark Zuckerberg was never threatened, and he still chooses to suck Trump off. Elon Musk was never threatened, and he chose to defend Donald Trump and chose to actively use his platform in ways that are far more significant than what TikTok did in terms of beefing up Trump's campaign strategies and using Twitter as a platform that was an endless faucet of right-wing misinformation. They did that for personal gain when they didn't even need to. TikTok, on the other hand, obviously looked at the situation and was like, well, this guy's pretty agreeable if you glaze him a little bit. And that's precisely what happened. They glazed him a little bit and, they got a stay of execution. That's it. I think a lot of the denial is the result of people's fear of Trump. I mean, I don't understand that. I am fearful of Donald Trump's administration as well. And I'm never going to stop being critical of Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump is good all of a sudden. I'm more angry at the Democratic Party for making Trump look good in this process by giving him the easiest W of all time. Like I said, Trump doesn't have a superpower, okay? He just recognizes when something is popular and he goes, yeah, I don't care about like any number of different legislators. This is popular. They like me over there. They'll like me even more if I save it. I'm going to save it. That's it. I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order. Americans deserve to see our exciting inauguration on Monday, as well as other events and conversations. I would like the United States to have 50% ownership in a position in a joint venture. They already have, I think the Chinese ownership at this point is like 20% from ByteDance. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok. With our approval, it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. Therefore, my initial thought is a joint venture between the current owners and or new owners, whereby the U.S. gets a 50% ownership in a joint venture set up between the U.S. and whichever purchase we so choose. Donald Trump's Truth Social, 10 a.m. EST. It's so cool how right after the SCOTUS ruling, the Speaker of the House just says explicitly that the ban is intended exclusively as censorship and to strip the free rights its 170 million American users. And that's precisely what this was about. I don't know how people don't see this. I think that they're probably going to have a very similar structure that currently exists, but they're just going to aesthetically make it seem as though it's different, like the ownership is different. That's the difference. Because TikTok says they're not going to sell. Why would they? I understand why they wouldn't. What the Trump called Biden out on this in April when the first bill passed? Yeah, Trump blames Biden for a potential TikTok ban and calls it election interference. In 2020, Trump signed an executive order to ban TikTok from app stores, warning the United States must take aggressive action against the owners of TikTok to protect our national security. I know Trump proposed a ban on TikTok in 2020. He tried to do an executive order. It was unconstitutional. I know all of this. Why are you telling me this, chat? You think me, the political commentator who literally commentated on this as a professional political commentator in 2020 when it was happening, is oblivious to this reality? I know. It does not matter. Saying Trump initially wanted it banned and he doesn't anymore doesn't change the equation even a little bit, okay? Unless you personally think that, like, Donald Trump was able to do mind control over the Democratic Party so they would just, like, push for this stupid-ass TikTok ban and sign it into law, thinking that this is like an expert level move from Donald Trump is so silly. It's super basic. It does not have to be that complicated. Politics can be as complicated as you want it to be or as simple as you want it to be. If people want something, and if an application, a treat that 170 million Americans use, okay, is the easiest W of all time. It's an incredibly easy W. It's an easier W than COVID lockdowns, because COVID lockdowns were appropriate. That was an instance where the government was actually operating in a paternalistic fashion at the behest of the citizens, okay? And even then, it was deeply unpopular because people couldn't go get haircuts. People were losing their minds, okay? People did not have access to their treats. Don't you understand? That causes societal collapse in America. That's the one thing. That is the American social contract. It does not matter how many brown people need to be eviscerated in the process. As long as I, an American, can get $5 jalapeno poppers, I, as an American, can get my easily accessible, affordable treats, then this entire project is fine, okay? That's the only thing that pacifies the public. That's the only thing people care about. Because when you don't have those treats, all of a sudden, you start recognizing that the potholes are f***ed up, the roads are busted, the infrastructure is dog, that schooling is worse year over year, your job opportunities suck, you can't pay rent and also afford groceries at the same time simultaneously, you'll never be able to retire. The world is both simultaneously on fire or underwater, sometimes both at the same time. There's endless war. All of a sudden, you're like, everything sucks. And now I don't even have my treats? What the f*** is this all about? That's it. That's the only thing that keeps American society together. So you don't have to be a brilliant person to recognize, like, yeah, if you take this thing away from Americans, they're going to get real pissed off. It's that simple.